Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and episode number 270 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Monday, December 11th, 2023, and it is, I think, going to be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge, judging by the sky right now. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. We have a nibble for you today because, unfortunately, yours truly has a hard out today, relatively early for a curling match. Once every 3 weeks, the 9 a.m. match. It's a little rough, but yeah, I know. The 9 a.m. match and the 9:20 p.m. match are just ugh. But hey, we'll give you as good a show as we can in the time that we have and enjoy each other's company. Big thank you goes to our podcast funding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. And before we do anything else, let's ask Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
You know, I'm not sure. It was not a good weekend for me. I spent most of it in bed because I was exhausted, and it's not normal physical exhaustion. It's like emotional exhaustion. It's one of the side effects of depression. Is just zaps your energy. So yeah, not the greatest weekend. Then of course this morning I was up early and trying to set up for the show, and my computer froze twice, which required a hard reboot. So I didn't get stuff ready till 6:30, which was frustrating. So then I'm in a rush to shower and get ready. And then, of course, you log on and your mic wasn't working. And, you know, it's Monday. It's Monday.
It's Monday. Yes. But we got everything all set up. And a lot of stuff happened over Friday and the weekend. There's some explosive stuff that happened, but we don't have enough time to get into it today.
Maybe scratch the surface on it, but yeah, we're not gonna have time today.
Yeah,
you have an early out, and I have an early out, so yeah.
But we will focus on the shenanigans over the weekend. However, we do have time for that. As you may know, kids and cubs, the Conservative Party of Canada, in all its wisdom, decided that it was going to introduce 20,000 amendments to an 11-page bill, in addition to all the motions that they had already set to have an all-night, it ended up being a 30-hour voting marathon. But that is not exactly what they had promised us and promised everyone. Like, not even close, right? It was, we are going to be voting until, basically Trudeau capitulates. I believe, was the vibe going. We're
Well,
going to keep voting, keep voting, keep voting until he takes that carbon tax off absolutely everything.
see, here's the thing. That's not how our system works. You can't hold it up like that. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And
He's trying to convince people that we're the United States of America and he can filibuster forever. That's not our system doesn't work that way.
it really just does not. So it turns out that we are going to vote until we get what we want, and we won't stop until the job is done. Was literally 30 hours.
Hmm. That Pierre wasn't even there for most of it.
Yes. So we got little things from Andrew Scheer after, like little videos like voting marathon over, but the fight continues. Only conservatives will axe the tax for farmers, First Nations, and families. So now they care about First Nations again, right?
Yeah.
But it's like no, buddy. You said you were going to stay until the tax was axed.
Mhm.
The tax was not axed. You didn't get it done, buddy. Now get your arse back in there and keep voting nonstop until the job is done, you lazy bones. Do what you promised.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen, clearly. And of course, they kept on calling it a marathon. And I think you misspelled telethon.
Yes, because Skippy skipped out for a number of hours to go to Montreal for a photo op at a Jewish community center after he voted against funding for that same Jewish community center. Yeah, he did that actually. Yeah, he did exactly that. Oh, and then he went to a $1,700 a plate fundraiser.
Yep.
And he showed up with bags of McDonald's at 1 o'clock in the morning after the voting was done.
No, not when the voting was done.
It wasn't done at that point? I thought it was.
Wasn't done at that point. Wasn't done at that point. So yes. And then Andrew Scheer then finished that off with a tweet that said, Justin Trudeau just put 338 MPs through 30 plus hours of voting to keep his failed carbon tax on heating and groceries. His ego would not let him admit that his carbon tax does not lower emissions. It just raises prices. Only conservatives will axe the tax. Well, Andrew, you just said that whole thing was about axing the tax and you did it. And now you're saying because it failed, the millisecond it failed, now it's Justin Trudeau who put 338 MPs through 30 hours of voting to keep. No, it was Pierre Poilievre who put 338 MPs through 30 hours of voting. And then Pierre Poilievre, when it was all done, had this sort of tweet that was like, you did this and you will never know. And now you know what it feels like to have your Christmas room. And it's like, but you don't know what it feels like, do you, Pierre?
No.
Because you weren't there for the 30 hours.
Do as
You
I
went
say,
to
not
one,
as I do.
yeah, and possibly two, from what I've heard. I have not been able to have confirmation of the two events for Hanukkah, which makes me wonder now, did you go to those events, Hanukkah events, because you cared about the people there and cared about Hanukkah, or did you go in order to be able to get out of voting, number one, or two, because the date of that fundraiser, I am sure, was set way before the day of the stunt.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take some extra time to go to some Hanukkah events so that you can point to the fact that, hey, it wasn't just a plate, or I wasn't at the plate thing. You were the fundraiser thing like this. But no, I went to some Hanukkah things. And since I was already out, I went to the fun. No. The fundraiser date was probably set way before. So, and his fundraiser was in Pointe-Claire in the Montreal area. So yes, he had all his minions vote, and he cared so much about Hanukkah, right, that he basically arranged it so that he was the only MP who could go to a Hanukkah celebration, because he kept all the others tied up in Parliament, including 18, at least, MPs of Jewish faith who couldn't go to Hanukkah events nor spend time with their family for the first day of Hanukkah. But he cares about totally. The Jewish people.
Yeah. He cares if he can get a good photo op with them. That's all he cares about.
And here's the other thing. While he was at these Hanukkah events, he was voting remotely. Now, if I remember correctly, the Conservative Party of Canada is the party that has consistently voted against remote
voting.
parliament.
Yeah.
Everybody get back and remember when COVID was at its height and they wanted all the MPs to get back into parliament now so that they could take each other out by coughing on each other?
It's the hypocrisy, amongst other things, that just is mind-blowing to me. It's the two-faced, backstabbing, do as I say, not as I do, rules for thee, not for me, attitude of the Reform Party. Because this is what it is. It's the Reform Party. It's not Conservative Party. They're not conservatives at all. They're conservatives in name only. They're CINOs, C-I-N-O, conservative in name only.
Yeah.
And every progressive in this country has had it with them. Every progressive. I know people who have started voting NDP and Liberal, and they're holding their nose when they do it, but they're like, I don't have a choice. And I'm like, yeah, but also take a look at the current Liberal Party. They're more in line with Joe Clark's progressive conservatives than Pierre Elliott Trudeau's Liberals.
Yep.
They really are.
Yep. So after coming back, after the whole thing, being away most of the first evening, he comes back to conservative offices to a triumphant applause at 1-something in the morning with bags full of McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's, kids, right? For his party faithful. Now, again, we're wondering if Skippy's copying a few people. I remember somebody else who came back with a whole bunch of McDonald's for the team.
Yeah.
Mr. Grizzly, if you will.
One moment, sir. Let me just cue this up here for you. This is ever so similar, don't you think?
So Daddy comes home from a 4-digit per person fundraiser with Mickey D's for the gleeful kids. What next? They all pile into the family clown car for a Sunday drive. What year is this? All right. Comes back with McDonald's for them. And, you know, we're wondering if he's like Trump because he bashes the media like Trump. But then he raises his fist like Josh Hawley, which he did when he was announcing this little stunt. And he's always smarmy like Vivek Ramaswamy. So he's almost like a composite of the absolute worst elements of the GOP, the Trump Rethumplicans behind us, below us, I should say. So he stages this. He keeps Jewish MPs away from their families. He keeps all MPs away from being able to do anything on the first day of Hanukkah, thus leaving him to be the only one. I'm sure you got a lot of photos of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to a fundraiser, which, of course, creates the element of doubt. Was he sincere about his participation at the Hanukkah events? Or was it just a useful ploy?
Just a ploy. Remember, he voted against funding for them.
So, once again, he might have been using people and exploiting people for some personal gain. But in the worst way, because Hanukkah is a very, very, very important day. I mean, the mayor of Calgary just got raked over the coals because she decided not to participate in a local event that was promoted as supporting Israel. And she said, whoa. When you guys invited me, you told me that this was a community event supporting the Calgary Jewish community. That I can attend.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's about supporting Israel as mayor in a city where I have a Muslim population, an Arab population, a Jewish population, and we're supposed to coexist, I can't be seen doing that if you change the mandate of the event. But he went and was not in the house. And there's no video of him. I don't know if there is any later because he wasn't there the next day either.
No, and he hasn't tweeted since then. It's been like 30 hours, I think.
Yeah. And when the time he did enter the house after bringing back the food, there's some images of him. Unfortunately, I don't have them handy, but he's doing that thing again while people are voting or talking. He's talking loud and like waving his arms like that while he's sitting in the seat. So, questions as to how much he had to consume.
Yeah, that was a question. And I'm not passing judgment over that.
He's a dick in his own right. He's a dick when he's sober.
Yes.
So, and he's done that when he's sober. He's been in the house and he's even asked questions of his own MPs while he was in the house, while other
He's
people
not paying
were talking.
attention.
Right? He's not there for the business of the people, but he was in there just yammering. Now, of course, the mics are not on, so we don't know. But it's like, gee, is he like pissed off that somebody made him miss his own bedtime? That would be you.
Yeah. No one to blame but yourself.
That would be you who did that if that was the case. And then there was this interesting tweet from Mark Gerritsen. Somebody had evaluated the amount of time that conservatives were in the House voting versus liberals. Now, I don't know if the prime minister that was there the entire 30 hours, but if not, it seems that he was there a good part of the time, because based on this graphic that I will send you, Mr. Grizzly, right here, it has the time that the conservative MPs were in the House voting compared to the time that the liberals were in the House voting. Now, a lot of the conservatives there, over 100 of them were there for the first 6 hours. About 150 liberals were there for the first 6 hours. And then you will see, if the graph is up, that the liberal participation was pretty much constant. And after, I'd say, maybe about 18 hours or something like this, actually went up a little bit. But somewhere after the last 6 hours, the conservative participation dropped to a point at which 49% of the conservative caucus did not vote. They went out and did some stuff during that time. The liberals stayed to vote against everything. But the conservatives so believed in their ploy that somewhere along the way, about half of them left.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but did the NDP and the Bloc vote in lockstep with the Liberals on all of these things?
I would assume so. Yes. And the time that they were mostly gone was between 1:48 a.m. and 4:18 a.m. or 5 a.m. So Daddy came home with McDonald's, came in, disrupted the house a little bit, and then it seems that everybody went to eat and have a 3 or 4 hour nap. When they didn't get back to the first 6 hour levels until close to 24 hours to the voting.
Wild.
So I'm sure a couple of people went to some Hanukkah events the next day, during the day, in the morning, and then came back in the afternoon. But they were there in the evening for the big finish, though. The last 5 hours.
Of course they were. Well, that's not even a surprise. That's just a given, right?
Yep. And then the second it was done, oh my God, it's Trudeau's fault that this happened. Because the Prime Minister of Canada refused to take the opposition's policy and put it in place instead of its own. When does that happen? When is that a reasonable expectation? And here's the thing, is that this ploy, it's not new. And it's not even new from Skippy. Because this summer, almost 6 months ago to the day, Skippy had promised that Parliament would sit all summer long until the Prime Minister basically jettisoned his own budget and put in place the Conservative one instead. Replace your budget with our budget. Replace your carbon tax policy with our carbon tax policy. And we'll stay in this place and we'll hold it all up and we'll take away your vacation time until you give us what we want, until you institute conservative policy over liberal policy. And this summer, when they said they were going to do that, well, they kind of made a deal 2 days before the summer break was to start. And then they just, well, you know, that thing we promised we were going to do now. You impressed yet?
Mm-hmm.
You impressed? I mean, conservative voters, are you impressed? Because if you had to calculate how much this 30-hour telethon, because you bet that there were fundraising letters being sent out while this was going on. So once again, the Conservative Party of Canada took the House of Commons.
Held it hostage, basically.
Held it hostage, took the cameras that were there, got the clips, went around and did fundraising. That's a telethon. 30 hours of your TV being occupied by one event that's going on is a telethon. And they didn't even bring in singers or dancers and entertainers in between the segments. Jerry wasn't there hosting. He was out in Point Claire.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Poilievre show, and he wasn't there. How much money did they fleece from Canadians during those 30 hours? Saying that they were standing up and fighting for something that could not happen. Saying that they were going to stay there. They were going to destroy the Prime Minister's Christmas vacation when they knew they only had 30 hours. And those 20,000 amendments that they tried to introduce at the last minute, well, apparently they did it wrong. They were all dismissed in one single vote.
Yeah, that one kills me. It's like, wait a minute, you want to form government and you don't even seem to understand how the system works.
Oh, they understand how the system works. It's just the whole other system. That 20,000 votes wasn't for procedure. That 20,000 votes was to get the headlines to promote this thing. Because 20,000 amendments on 11 pages is just so outrageous.
Well, I don't like this comma. I don't like that period. That's a dangling participle. Like, what?
Why this word rather than this word?
How do you come up with 20,000 amendments on an 11-page document? I mean...
So how many hours of work went into coming up to those 20,000? And remember, when you're producing amendments, that's a lot of paper being photocopied.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, the amount of money spent. Well, just on the vote alone, I think it cost us something like $1.8 million for his filibuster. I will make them stay until they cancel.
That should be party funds. This is a misappropriation of public dollars for partisan political purposes.
It absolutely is.
They got all of us to pay for their 30-hour telethon. And think about staffing hours to prepare all those amendments.
Oh, God, yeah.
Lights, heat, all the staff that had to be working at Parliament for those 30 hours to keep it going. All the salary and benefits accumulated by the MPs, all MPs, during those 30 hours where absolutely nothing productive was being done for the Canadian public. Add that all together, right? Not just the lights in the building and the heat and the staff to keep it, but all the hours that went into that. How much money did they just misappropriate from public funds in order to be able to have a 30-hour infomercial?
It was a giant PR stunt is all it was. That's all it was.
We paid for that.
As far as I'm concerned,
that's a misappropriation of public funds. That's theft.
It was not necessary.
Not only not necessary, but as we keep on saying on the show, because of the standings in Parliament where the government needs only one of the Bloc Québécois or one of the NDP to pass anything, something they knew could not work. That party is impotent. in the House of Commons. They stole from us in order to be able to do this. They stole from us. They took money and time that was supposed to be spent on us as citizens and spent it on themselves for the sole purpose of aggrandizing themselves and for raising money for themselves. It's almost like there ought to be a law.
You think? Well, did you see the what they voted against? They voted no on everything.
Oh, absolutely no on everything. Yeah. And these are going to come back to haunt them. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Because the NDP, particularly Alistair McGregor, he had a great Twitter account to be following during this because he would list everything pretty much that they voted against. But Mr. Grizzly, if you happen to have a little handy list there.
Looking for it right now, actually. Having trouble finding it for some reason.
They voted against things like funding the military, funding the RCMP. And these are pretty big things. These are things that conservatives say they believe in. Doesn't matter if they believe them or not. They just literally voted against absolutely everything. There wasn't even one or two that they can find a way to vote for, because they didn't have to vote no on all of them. Right? They just did.
They just did.
They just did. Absolutely blows my mind. And now I'm trying to figure out how to spell Alistair McGregor correctly.
Alistair. There's one L.
Yeah. There we
I'm
go.
doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. And I can't seem to find the proper spelling. Maybe this is like MacGregor.
MacGregor, not McGregor. Yeah, I just got him now, following him.
Should have figured that out. My fault. When in doubt, when Mech doesn't work, first try Mac.
Well, and here's a tweet from Don Davies, which is interesting because it ties into all of the stuff they were voting against. Here we are, poised on the eve of the single biggest expansion of the healthcare system in a generation. Tomorrow, he wrote this 8 hours ago. Tomorrow, we're launching the Canadian Dental Care Plan, following in the footsteps of Tommy Douglas' vision for head-to-toe healthcare.
Yep. The Liberals will be introducing today legislation to move the dental care program from a program to an actual, or for a test pilot type thing, into an actual full-fledged program.
Now, here's something that I had suspected, and I was just able to confirm from Yarrow Giesbrecht.
Yep.
NDP House Leader MP Julian. Conservatives screwed up on their 20,000 AI-generated amendments. The 20,000 amendments that were generated by AI, those were disposed of in 5 minutes by the committee because the Conservatives screwed up on their tactics. I suspected they may have been AI-generated because there's no way you could have... How could you possibly come up with 20,000 amendments on an 11-page document? I don't know how a human being could do that. You would need a team of 100 people poring over every sentence, comma.
Yeah. Could you play AI. Could you play Mr. Julian's clip?
Yeah, sure. I've got a clip right here. Hang on, I'll just bring it up.
He says in the second half of his statement here, he explains the remote voting tool that the New Democrats were strong advocates for. It means MPs can vote on behalf of the constituents, but it's the Conservatives that use it most, even though they opposed it. The Conservatives in the bloc really opposed it.
Yeah, which is ironic, right?
I know you say you used to work night shift at a factory, but even night shift workers get a break. I mean, do you think you're going to get one on Monday, or what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the committees will be held up? Do you think the Commons will be held up?
Oh, I mean, I think there's some minor procedural things that the Conservatives can do. The reality is it's estimates and this voting that is ultimately their biggest tool, and in a few hours that runs out. The 20,000 amendments that were generated by artificial intelligence that Kevin speaks to, those were disposed of in 5 minutes by the committee because the Conservatives screwed up on their tactics and and basically did the amendments wrong. So the reality is, I don't have a lot of confidence in their team. They have a dumb strategy. They will try some of the tactics they've used in the past, but I don't think they're going to work. And for your viewers, because I think this may be, well, the first time we've had live voting on a political program, so Power and Politics being a pioneer yet again. What we have to do with this phone is take a picture of ourselves to go with our current vote. So of the 120 votes, we have to take 120 pictures if we're outside the House, and send that live picture along with the vote to ensure that our identity has been confirmed. So it's actually really sophisticated technology. Most Conservatives use this more than anyone else. They use the remote voting more than any other party. And it is something, I think, that allows members of Parliament to sometimes be in two places at once. And that's important, I think, for us to be more effective in the work that we do on behalf of Canadians.
No, but
You know, here's what he said that I think makes the most hypocrisy of it, was a party that voted against remote voting uses it more than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And I was for remote voting from the get-go. It's like, look, here's the beauty of, modern work day. For many times, I was flying and working. I was on a plane working remotely. I was able to do my job because there's onboard Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
So why shouldn't a member of Parliament who works insane hours to begin with, and as much as I hate Pierre Poilievre, and I cannot stand him, I think he's a horrible human being. I know he works his ass off. I know he does. Every member of Parliament does. All their staffers do. They work 75, 80, 90, sometimes 100 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's not up for debate. You know how it works. You've been there. You've seen it.
Yep.
So having the ability to vote on things remotely is better for our democracy, because now you can fully take part even when you cannot be physically present.
Yeah, especially if you live far away.
Yes.
If you're a Yukon or a BC MP or up in the north anywhere.
And there's a problem you need to go home to take care of. Now you can still do your democratic duty as a member of Parliament and vote.
Now, when the Conservatives were against this, they were against this because it made MPs unaccountable for the votes because they weren't in the House being seen voting.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
but it's
Conservatives
still
always
recorded.
say no, but they'll still use the tech, though.
Yeah.
More
It's
than
still all
anything.
recorded, though.
Yes.
Whatever, anything you vote is recorded. It's public record, period. Right?
Absolutely. So they voted against, for example, they voted to defund the police with their last 3 votes against the RCMP. And Alistair McGregor says, and my entire riding is policed by the RCMP. The last 3 opposed votes from the Conservatives have been against the National Museum of Science and Technology, the National Research Council, and the National Sciences and Engineering Research Council. So no funding, for example, for doctoral students who are doing research like my sweetie was doing.
Mm-hmm.
None of that. They voted against that. It's 7:20 a.m. Been voting all night since we started at 5:45 p.m. Still going strong, ready to continue defending against shameful Conservative votes to cut funding from public vital services. They voted against funding the Department of National Defense and for Operation Unifier to help train the Ukraine military. They voted against funding for the Jewish Community Center of Greater Vancouver and the Montreal Holocaust Museum. While he was out. They voted against it while he was at Monica. They voted against funding for the Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, but they claimed they were doing this for farmers.
Mm-hmm.
In part.
Sure they were. Sure they were. I have another clip here I want to show
They
you.
voted
22
against funding for
seconds.
the Correctional Service of Canada.
Yeah.
But they wanted to keep Paul Bernardo
In prison.
It's
Yeah.
just the hypocrisy.
It's so thick.
You had something, Mr.
It's
Grizzly?
so thick. Yeah, I have a 22-second clip here I want to show you that well, it just watch.
Is that a point of order?
I heard you say just a couple votes ago that we were halfway through, but by my calculation, doubling the amount of time we spent doesn't get us to Christmas. I wonder, are there some other votes we're not aware of that the leader of the Conservative Party is, or did he mislead Canadians?
They misled Canadians. They also voted against funding for the Women and Gender Equality one day after the National Day of Remembrance on Action of
Yes.
Violence Against Women. They also voted against funding the Canadian Space Agency. They voted against funding for CSIS. Well, that's understandable.
We know why they did that.
They voted
Hello,
against the
India?
Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, Canada Border Services Agency, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the Canadian Human Rights Commission. Well, that one we can understand from them again. And the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority. And it goes on and on.
Look at this one. This is interesting. I just saw this. This is just a tweet and a photo. Incredible. The Cons voted against finishing the Gordie Howe Bridge just before it is connected after $885,179,373 already spent and $335,362,310 to finish. Having an infrastructure asset like this stranded is bad. 196 to 102, it passes. Thanks, NDP, Libs, and the Bloc.
So you know that thing that those convoyers did in the
Mhm.
beginning where they tried to seal up the borders? Promising that they would allow food and medical supplies in, but nothing else. Thus trying to make everybody lose their jobs and cripple the Canadian economy. This is the same thing.
PNC Bio's got a zinger right here.
The party sounds like it
Well-
wants to abolish the police. Woke garbage.
When they vote against funding the RCMP and CSIS and the military.
And the border security and air travel safety.
Did they even read it, or did they just no? Okay, vote no on everything.
They just
I
voted
think
no
it was
on
a
everything.
command from on high from Stephen Harper.
No matter how bad it makes us look.
Yeah, just vote
Vote
no on everything.
We're doing something here. We're standing up for Canadian. And then 49% of them didn't show up.
Yeah.
With these are sunshine patriots,
Oh yeah.
sunny day warriors, allies only in good weather. This is not a serious party.
No.
Again, I keep on making the case. I do not know when somebody is going to stand up and say this party not only does not deserve to form the government, it doesn't even deserve to be in opposition. It's stunts like that. Misappropriating your tax dollars. This is money that should have came from party funds to
Yes.
cover this. And even if that was the case, still 60% of them are generously subsidized through us, given that very generous voters tax credit, political donation tax credit. So either way, even if they paid it from party funds, you would have been subsidizing 60% of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're taking your money and spending it on themselves. Not on you. They're taking the most important resource a member of parliament has, their time. And they're spending it on this. Not on you. It's irresponsible. It's ridiculous. It's not serious. It's not honorable. And they're supposed to be in there to be honorable. The assumption, the base assumption is that they are so honorable that to even say in the House of Commons, Mr. Speaker, they're lying, is unparliamentary.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be presumed and assumed to be honorable. They betrayed their oaths.
Well, I mean,
And if not a formal oath that they put their hand on and swore on whatever it is, just the basic contract between an MP that I am going to there to be your voice and represent you. And I will do it to the best of my abilities. And we would assume within the confines of the law. They took your money and they spent it on something on which it should not have been spent. They broke the contract.
oh yeah.
Don't vote for assholes. Don't
Well,
people steal from you. Look for people who lie to your face. We are going to remain there until the tax is axed, even if that means canceling the Prime Minister's vacation. 30 hours, they were done, and then they tried to walk away from it, and for a portion of it, some of them went and had a nap.
well, and they will act like, what was it, the member of parliament a few years ago? He's like playing chess with a pigeon.
Yep. Wayne Easter said it.
Yes. He knocks the pieces off the board, messes all over the board, and then struts around like he won something. And this is what they'll do. They'll strut around like they won something when they won nothing, like less than nothing, and cost us $2 million or 1.8 million. Let's get specific. 1.8 million is what it cost.
Not impressed.
No.
Not impressed. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us because we loved making this for you. Because sharing is caring, please, 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 if you have the opportunity, tell your peeps and poops all about us more than ever. Because there's... wait until you see what we got coming up this week. Oh boy, there's stuff.
So much
there is stuff, so much stuff. Because democracy is something that you do. Go get your shots, please. Your XBB and all of them. Let's keep our hospitals as unclogged as possible, and make sure that you donate to the Red Cross if you can. Basically, it's the season of giving. If you can be generous and help out in some way, do so.
If you can.
Yeah,
if you can.
If you can't, that's fine.
Yeah.
And remember, if you don't have money, you do have time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's more valuable.
In many cases, it is, because they always need volunteers, right?
Mm-hmm. And remember, everybody has something they can contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Even if you think you have no skills, everybody has something they can contribute. Trust me.
Takes a village, right?
Right? It does. If you would like to subscribe and not miss an episode, please, thanks to the Ray Girl, the fabulous Holly Jolly Ray Girl, you can do so. That little squiggly that just appeared brings you to our pod page. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it'll come directly to you. And if you like subscribing, well, then you can also go to our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, which the last time I checked, which was last night or yesterday, I think we were at 495 at one point.
497.
Ooh, just three more. And if you're caller number 3, you get a lovely set of Ginsu knives. But wait, there's more.
No, you won't. There's no Ginsu knives. There's no Ginsu knives.
We have no Ginsu knives. But you get a beaver and a grizzly. Fairly regularly. But yes. And of course, if you would like to help us, exactly, democracy is not a spectator sport. If you would like to help us, our coffee page for our emergency hydration fund is available to you. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And we appreciate everything that you can do for us over there. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying, until next time, dear kids, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
I think I spilled coffee on myself.
All right, there we go.
That's not a good start to a Monday.
Don't do that. Coffee goes in the mouth.
Not in your lap. It's not pleasant when it's in your lap. I have to change my pants before I go to work now. That sounds worse than it is, right?
Well, you have to be a little more this way, sir. Sweetie, there you go. There's the Beaver Sweetie saying hello to everybody. There you go. All right. See, you get bonus. You get bonus content when you watch us. All right, Mr. Grizzly, please roll them credits.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver media podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
And in a maybe a little teaser of what I maybe have in store for you tomorrow, this, Mr. Grizzly. It seems that on December 8th, according to the DPA news agency, that's in Germany, breaking. You read it, Mr. Grizzly.
The Alternative for Germany, AfD party, has been categorized as a confirmed right-wing extremist organization in the eastern German state of Saxony. The domestic intel service there says.
Now, if AfD rings a bell to you, kits and cubs, that's the party that Mademoiselle Christine Anderson, who was just here for a third time in a short period of time, represents. So, of course, that led me to write down, over to you, Sarah Fisher. In light of this development, could we get a direct quote on camera from Pierre Poilievre, who still has yet to deliver one, about what consequences 3 of his MPs will face for having lunched with Christine Anderson?
Yeah, they've never addressed it.
Stay tuned. It's getting sticky.
Oh, yeah.
All right, kids. See ya.
See ya.